Sobriety birthdays. What do they mean to you? The phone lines are open. We want to hear from you today, live on Recovery Monday.
I am redeemed. You set me free. So I'll shake off these heavy chains and wipe away every stain. That I'm not who I used to be. I am redeemed.
All right, welcome. It's 3.5 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on this, the 12th day of May in the Lord's year 2014. Just some programming notes. Tomorrow, there's a gentleman who is, well, how do you say this? He's been attacked by local media and things like that, only to find out that he didn't do the things they said he did. Will you see that in a headline? Will you see that on your 2 cents worth? Will the media pick up that story? That's tomorrow with Tom Coates. And then this Sunday on our Restoring Hope Live, a very special young lady. Her name is Jennifer Ritchie. And if you go on Facebook to Jennifer Ritchie, you'll find her. She wrote an incredible blog about her favorite Bible verse. And it has everything to do with her story of family alcoholism, her own bout with alcohol and drugs, and how now she got mugged by Jesus and how her life has changed. An incredible story. You'll hear that this Sunday, noon to 1 on RestoringHopeLive.com on this very radio station that you're listening to now. So I just wanted to give you that programming note.
You know, Mac, I was going to say that a similar thing happened to me about the first guest or the guest you're going to have tomorrow, where some attorney accused me of doing something and made the front page of the Register.
Yeah.
And it was there for 2 or 3 days of how I forged a signature and I was doing all these kind of things. And then it took, there was one judge in Jasper County that said what I did was fine, nothing wrong with it. And then eventually Supreme Court said that what I did was okay too, because it went all the way up to the Supreme Court. And then the Register posted on page 8, little tiny article,
Yeah.
like that,
Yeah.
saying that it wasn't any big deal.
Yeah.
So did you have to pay all the way for your defense all the way up,
No.
or your company did, or whatever?
Well, it's one of those things where if the attorney doesn't like a ruling by a judge or the court, then they try to take it up to another level. And so that
Yeah.
just happens,
But
automatically.
the state would have paid for his
Yeah.
attorney because he's a
Yeah.
employee of the state.
And I really didn't even have
Are you a federal employee?
state.
State, okay.
But I didn't have an attorney. It was just that the courts just automatically picked it up because it was appealed. And
So how were you feeling when you were accused of something that you didn't do?
well, I was feeling like, and a lot of attorneys came around me, defense attorneys, saying that, oh, this could happen to you, this could happen to you, trying to put a lot of scare into me, though all the while I felt like there was nothing that I did that was wrong in any way. And so I felt secure in the fact that I didn't do any wrong, but the legal process takes a long time
Yeah.
to answer all of the questions and for them to deal with it and to see. And then basically what they said was, nah, it's okay. And then it all of a sudden went away.
Yeah.
But all this time you're waiting and wondering, what are they going to do? How is it going to work out?
Yeah.
And so it's you're falsely accused and there's not much you can do. They have to fight all around you while you're just in the midst of the storm.
Well, here's what's interesting, and research has proved this. Good news doesn't sell.
Right.
Yeah.
There is an unfortunate statement in the television broadcast world that says if it bleeds, it leads, as in the lead story. But you said, there's a group of people in this town, and there's like a secret society of people who have been tromped on by the media and accused of something, and it just became this swell. And in the end, there's nothing there. And yet the victims lay beaten on the side of the road. And we're in the middle of one right now. And that's this story that Branstad did anything wrong by paying these people when they left their jobs. Ladies and gentlemen, that's called severance. And I guarantee, if I'm wrong, Lila, you make me say it right here on the air that I was wrong. But I guarantee you that's just going to fizzle away as soon as Jack Hatch doesn't win the governorship. It's just incredible. And I'm old school, but there's guys older than me out there that are participating in this. But, I can remember when my journalism teacher at the University of Nebraska said, here is the biggest falsehood you'll ever hear in journalism. And that is never let the facts get in the way of a good story. But there are many, many media people that feel that way. Oh, we can really make this juicy. Yeah. Mom had a 6-pack of beer in the refrigerator. So let's say she's an alcoholic. And there was a stuffed animal on the wall. So let's say they own guns and they're pro-NRA. Well, see, none of this stuff can really be proved to be untrue. It's just the way it's placed out there.
There's a guy like that in the Register that goes after people, and it just really angers me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Really angers me.
Well, I'll never forget as long as I live, and I'll be glad to tell the story here someday, but the graffiti story. And you and I have talked about this. I don't know if you're aware, but I owned a nightclub in Des Moines called Graffiti's, and there was a young man there by the name of Charles Lovelady, and he died after attacking a couple of bouncers. And for 1 year, we put up with racial slams, marches down the middle of the streets. The business was shut down. Lost was over $500,000 in cash, just gone because there was nothing we could do. And my wife will tell you the night we were sitting there watching the 10 o'clock news on Channel 8, and Kevin Cooney said, and I quote, suspected murderer J. Michael McCoy.
Whoa.
Now understand, I was home in bed when this happened. But all they've got to do is say later in the broadcast or the next day, oh, we misspoke. But see, the cockroach is already on the pizza.
Yeah, I remember that whole story.
Yeah, and in the end, he was found. Well, you remember wasn't Bob, but it was his department that eventually said, well, the guy was smoking cigarettes that he had dipped in formaldehyde, and that causes a respiratory rupture or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure, but the medical examiner had the autopsy report.
Yeah, and the medical examiner got up, testified, and the trial was over in like 4 hours.
Whoa.
And yet there were no headlines.
Now, see, this is interesting because I'm on the outside. I didn't really know you then. Yeah. And I don't remember ever hearing that. I remember all the rest of the story.
I don't think the Des Moines Register ever printed that was the cause of death.
Yeah.
But the county coroner, medical examiner got up and said this. Any doubts? They had no witnesses to say it was anyway. They had the toxology to show it, and it was done. Meanwhile, 2 lives of our bouncers were ruined, literally ruined. They were both Drake football players, and they had to quit school. One of them had to move. One of them chose to move out of Des Moines because he was threatened so much.
Whoa.
A business destroyed, reputations destroyed. I opened a restaurant about 4 years later, and I wanted this guy to play at my restaurant because he was a jazz musician. He was really good, and he wouldn't return my calls. And finally, I'd get a hold of him, and he'd blow me off. And finally, he came to the restaurant one night. He said, "I just want to tell you face to face why I won't play here." And I said, "Well, I appreciate that. What's the reason?" "Well, you're a murderer."
Whoa.
Wait a minute. I was found not guilty. Well, that doesn't matter. Well, you paid off the lawyers to make sure that was the toxology report. No. You've been watching way too many television shows.
Yeah.
That doesn't really happen. But anyway.
No. But anyway, that's going to be part of what tomorrow is going to show. Similar.
Yeah. And we're going to be very careful on this because we do not want to, you got to have respect for a newspaper like the Des Moines Register. And I want to be a bigger person than they are. Okay? I don't want to use this bully pulpit to challenge their bully pulpit, because then all it is a big pee-pee match. And I'm not interested in spending my life that way, and I don't think God would glorify that. No. And they don't give a rat's behind what God thinks over there. But it's too bad. But yeah, here's what this incident taught me. One of the things this incident taught me: read the bylines. Mm-hmm. When you read a story in the newspaper, read the byline. And remember how that story was written, and remember what it was about. And if you felt it was biased, just remember that. And then the next time that person writes a story, and pretty soon you'll get a pattern. You'll begin to see how that person is hunting for the answer they want, and eventually, if that can't be held accountable that they want, it'll just disappear like a puff of smoke, and it'll be gone.
That's, I don't know the writer's name from the Register, but that's how I'm envisioning this guy that kind of goes after people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, during this time, when this was all going down, were you drinking at that time?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And were you drinking before that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I started drinking in 94, and this happened in Valentine's Day 2000.
Did it increase that? I mean, did you drink more because of this? Or do you remember that?
Let's say yes, because it would be wrong for me to say no because I don't remember. I mean, every time there was a crisis in my life, and unfortunately, alcoholics create most of their own crises. This one, that wasn't the case. And so that would, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but I would tell you that my chance of increasing my drinking because of a crisis I didn't cause wouldn't be as great as the chances of increasing my drinking by crises I caused. Because somewhere deep inside, I knew I was at fault. I knew I was wrong. The fight that I'd started with my wife, the fight I'd started with a business partner, the getting sued because I didn't pay a bill or something like that. Those would, as I sit here and think about it, the emotion would be, well, I'll just drink more because I know I screwed up because I'm a lousy.
But did that cause things to snowball even more? Or was life just going on as if you were drinking or not drinking?
Yeah, probably.
But I'm thinking you would feel maybe like Bob did, where you have no control. People are accusing you of things you didn't do, and you have no control over that, which would cause me to drink.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I went to a liter of gin a night fairly quickly after 1994, and didn't back off from that until I finally put the plug in the jug. So that was just kind of regular stuff going on. But that's a real terrible thing, to be accused of being a racist and to be accused of murder. And to have people actually, to this day, I mean, every once in a while, I'll get something on Facebook. And, you know, it'll go back to that case. And here's what's so funny. The night the case was over, we invited Charles's mom and dad to come out to the restaurant, and they did, and we bought dinner with them, and we all sat down and talked about what a terrible tragedy the loss of his life was for such a dumb reason. And one of the people at that dinner were so embarrassed that the truth could never be told. Because there's a lot of people who are addicts, alcoholics, whatever. When somebody dies of this disease, they want that brought to the top. Because there's that guy out there drinking who doesn't go to a 12-step program, who hides it from everybody, and he hasn't recognized or won't admit that this is a deadly disease. I told my wife, if I relapse and I drink again, and that's the reason I die, it may be heart failure or what's one, a cancer of the pancreas is one.
Yeah.
For God's sake, say due to alcoholic abuse. Well, we ought to want people to remember you that way. You know what? I don't care. If I'm dumb enough to go do that again, I want it to be known that it caused me my life.
Do you think, though, that is enough to stop people? I mean, because it continues on. People continue to drink themselves
I think it does.
to death.
No, I think it does. I think there are, I'll give you an instance. There was a guy that I knew very, very well who was just a pathetic alcoholic, and he owned a nice restaurant. And I had already quit drinking when he died from drinking himself to death. But I remember going to the funeral and looking at, and his family was so wonderful because they refused to burn him.
Cremate.
Thank you. Cremate him. Because they wanted to see what the alcohol had done to this guy. And it was just terrible. It was absolutely terrible. And I remember standing there looking at that body and being invigorated, inspired to make sure that never happened to me. That it never happened to me.
And when was that? What year?
Oh, I suppose I've been sober about a year,
Oh, okay.
or maybe less.
Okay.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Do you? Okay. All right, we are going to come back, and we're going to talk about sobriety birthdays, and what are they, and what do they mean, and why they are so dangerous in one hand and so important in the other hand. And that's not an either or. It just comes together. And I'll share from first experience, because last Saturday I had my 1,462nd day, which equates for you math geniuses to 4 years sober. We'll talk about that when we come back live here on Recovery Monday. Brought to you by Powell CDC.
father who is headed toward another heart attack. A woman who struggles daily with diabetes and her memory. A boy whose headaches keep him out of school. A mother who one morning discovers a lump. A girl whose condition defies diagnosis. You come to us because you need answers, but you also need more. You need understanding of what you're going through. You need comfort. You need to be treated as an individual, not a condition. You need to be included in your own care. You are the point of everything we do. That's why we're changing to Unity Point Health. It's a model of care that will help us work better together, where the physician who knows you best takes the lead, coordinating your care through every step, from the hospital to specialists to rehabilitation to health services in the home and in the community, to making sure the treatments are effective. By working as a team, we surround you with care, helping you manage your health and your conditions, guiding you to making better choices and living a healthier life. The point of Unity is you. Unity Point Health.
Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places, especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart, and it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you.
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
21 minutes after 3 o'clock on this 12th day of May in the Lord's year 2014. Today we're going to talk on Recovery Monday, brought to you by Powell CDC, sobriety birthdays. And they become, and Lila, if you disagree with me, say this, but they become really more significant than a belly button birthday.
Yeah, I think so.
And
For some people, there are very few people that don't want to keep track.
Really?
Yeah, and they're afraid. They're the chronic relapsers.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
And it's just like they don't want to associate the number with anything because then they get uptight when it gets near, like if they've only been sober 90 days before, and every time they get 90 days, they relapse. So they just try not to remember.
Yeah. But sobriety birthdays obviously would be the last day that you took a drink or the first day you didn't. Mine is May 10th.
Okay, but I tell people it's the first day you were sober.
Yeah, so mine was May 10th.
Okay.
Because I put the plug in the jug on the 9th, didn't drink that night. So by completing the 10th, it was my first 24 hours.
Yeah, because I tell people if I got sober, my last drinking day was December 31st, and my first sober day was January 1st. But it always sounds like if I could have just been sober on the 31st, it would have sounded like I was sober a whole other year.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I know. But, and there's a lot of strange things that happen around sobriety birthdays. Now, I wasn't foolish by doing what I did, but I knew I needed to quit. I needed an excuse to quit. I heard a sermon on the Sunday before Easter, or the Sunday before Palm Sunday, that God just told me, this is what I want for you. This is my will for you is that you don't drink. And it took me about a week and a half more to finally just say I was done. And I was kind of foolish in the fact that my birthday's in the middle of April, then my sobriety birthday's on the 10th of May, my wedding anniversary is on the 11th of May, and my wife's birthday is on the 14th or 5th, 14th.
You better know.
514, 14th of May. See, my birthday is 415, and she's 514. That's how otherwise I probably wouldn't remember it. And in the middle of that week is always what? Mother's Day. So whenever I get, for the last 4 years, when I get to a sobriety birthday, or I get to a wedding anniversary, or I get to my wife's birthday, or we get to Mother's Day, they're all within 1 week. And in this case, it was a Saturday, Sunday, and a Wednesday. So, but here's the phenomenon that I want you to talk about, Lila, because I find this to be true, as much as I want to say it's not. People get edgy around their sobriety birthdays. And I hear that in 12-step meetings all the time. And I say, no, come on, you're anticipatory, you're excited. But actually, the opposite is many times true. That you're edgy, you're off balance, you feel uncomfortable.
I think it's whatever they've been told. Like, I used to hate it when people would say, you know, if I was coming up on 10 years, they'd say, watch out, 10 years is the bad year. And so then you're anticipating, it's like, whoa, you're off balance then. But I really haven't run across, I've been sober for so long that the people I run with have been sober a long time. And they don't really get,
okay.
It may be new people, because they, and it depends how serene you are in your sobriety.
Yeah.
If you're really doing what you're supposed to be doing, you would feel like you have a foundation under you and feel okay.
Well,
did you get screwed? How were you feeling?
Well, let me share it with you. And I think there's interesting, and I'm glad that both Bob and you are here today, because how I was feeling the last 3 or 4 weeks, both of you will have something to say about it from a spiritual standpoint and from a alcoholic standpoint and from a recovery person. I've had the worst 3 weeks of my life, or at least in the last 2 or 3, I shouldn't say my life, the last 2 or 3 years. I got into 3 verbal, almost out of control arguments. Now, I've never been a physical person. I can tell you the 2 people that I've ever taken my fist and hit with in my 55 years on earth. But my weapon was my mouth. Mm-hmm. And in the last 3 weeks, I got into 3 verbal confrontations with good people. People I love, people I care about. No, it was not my wife or my children, for those of you wondering. They were all 3 male, okay? I was very isolated. Mm-hmm. That's the word. The last 2 or 3 weeks. Didn't want to be around people. Didn't want to get doing what was doing. And well, you know what happened after Easter. We walked out of a show 3 weeks ago today, right? And I said to you, man, I just can't. I'm just wiped out. I went out to lunch with one of my best friends who's known me longer than anybody that I run with. And she said, Mac, you are a emotional mess right now. This was Saturday. No, this was Friday. You're an emotional mess. I've never seen you so stressed out.
Last Friday.
I've never seen you so stressed out. What's going on? Well, I can give you a plethora of little teeny things. 2 of the arguments that I had, the person and I made up, and the third one, I've done my amends, so there's nothing I can do. I've said I'm sorry. They don't want to accept it yet, and that's okay.
Did you say you were sorry, or you're going to change your ways? There's a difference.
I know there's a difference. With this guy, I said I was sorry.
Okay. That isn't what it's about, though.
Well, I agree with you. Every time I see this guy, he's a physical fitness guy. And every time I see him, he's 70-some years old. And every time I see him, he tells me I'm fat and I need to lose weight. So I'm sitting there at a restaurant with somebody on Wednesday. We're talking about stuff. He comes in, sees me, stands by my table for a good 2 or 3 minutes and preaches to me about what I'm eating. And finally I said, listen, just walk on. Just move on. Okay? Please just move on. And he later came up to the table after the person wasn't sitting there. They got up to get something, and I said, that was rude. That was one of the rudest things anybody's ever done to me. And I said, well, I'm sorry. And then I left a message for him. But see, I don't know what to amend on that, because if he ever does it to me again, I'm going to tell him again. Because
But
he's
he
been
was
telling me
telling
this.
you that you were rude for
Yeah.
telling him to move on?
Yeah.
Don't you think that he was rude for coming to him while he was?
I mean, every
Oh,
time I
yeah.
see this guy, he tells me how overweight I am, and he picks up my plate and says, "See, that's got that, and that's got that, and that's got that." And I've loved this guy for a long time, but I'm done.
Okay, so Mac, is there any time, not when you're eating, that you could just sit down with this guy and tell him what your expectations are? That if he wants you to change, that isn't how you're going to change.
Yeah, I probably need to do that. I
Yeah.
probably need to do that. But
especially if if he continues to do it every time he sees you.
well, this has been 4 years, 3 years.
Yeah.
See him at church, and that's the only thing he says. It's the only thing he ever says. Anyway, so that's the one that hasn't been amended yet.
So is that bothering you on some other level? Like maybe, is it that he bothers you with that, or that the message might is hitting you in a
Well, the message
way?
is true. I mean, I've gained 40 pounds since I quit drinking. One of the reasons I wanted to quit drinking is so I could lose weight.
Yeah.
And I've gained 40 pounds, which I guess apparently is common. But I can't believe I'm saying this live on radio. But to be honest with you, I'm very glad that I said it. And if he chooses not to accept my apology, it's a big pain in the rear out of my life. Because I every single time, this is what's going on, and it doesn't matter who's around. I was I won't mention her name, but I was sitting next to a very, 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 very large woman at church one Sunday eating breakfast, and this guy walked up and just starts hammering me, and in the middle of his spiel looks at the girl and says, "And you could lose some weight too."
Oh my goodness.
Oh, so he has some problems.
Yeah, he does. But anyway, that's beside the point. So, and then, and also, my good friend Dr. Gruters has been dying.
Yeah.
And so I've been up to I've been to his house a couple times a week, maybe once a week for many months. And then he got put into hospice on Tuesday, and I was there every single day, sometimes twice a day. Until fortunately, and I am going to say fortunately, because he loved Jesus, and he was in tremendous pain, and it was killing his family. But he died at 5 o'clock on Saturday afternoon.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he died at 5 o'clock Saturday afternoon, and I had already been there twice on Friday, twice on Thursday, twice on Friday, and twice on Saturday. And we had done communion on Saturday with the whole family and everybody. And that was one of the reasons I know I was tense, because I was being asked to step up and help with some things that were really out of my comfort zone. I've been through a lot of things in my life, but I've never buried anybody I love.
Yeah.
I mean, I lost my grandma and grandpa at 9 and 10, but that's it.
Yeah.
I haven't buried a good friend. I haven't buried a grandma, a parent, or anything like that. So, but I was sitting here thinking, I'm really glad we're doing this show today. Got out of church, went to see a movie, did some errands, and I finally got my big fat butt in my big fat chair about 4 o'clock. And the dog jumped up in my lap, and I remember all of a sudden thinking, I'm totally calm.
I was just going to ask you what you were doing to fill yourself up, because you were being pulled from so many. And the fact that you were isolating isn't good either, but.
I don't know. I don't know if having CJ there when I got my chip, which is only the second time she's ever gone to a meeting with me, meant a lot. The room was very jovial and gave me a bad time. Listen to this, Bob. One gal, Christy, said, CJ, I don't know how you put up with him. He said, we can hardly deal with him 1 hour a week, and you've got him 24/7. And Pat said something about she needs to be canonized or sainthood or something like that. And I enjoy hearing that, because I do believe the only people I tease are the people I love the most. And CJ needs to hear that, because in many ways that's very true. You know, she put up with me for a long, long time, and I wasn't a very good husband, and I wasn't a very good friend, and I wasn't a very good father. I didn't suck, but I wasn't what she wanted me to be. In fact, what I said to her in the meeting, and I thought for sure I was going to bust out crying. If I would have looked at her, I would have cried. But I said, I want you to know you inspire me, because you see a guy that I'm finally kind of becoming, that wasn't around for a long time. And I said, you inspire me. So that was good. And plus, we went to see Mom's Night Out on Sunday, which is a hilarious movie. Just a fun, no swearing. It's got a good message movie, you know.
cool.
Yeah, it was just a good movie. But I sat down. In fact, I'm glad we're talking about it because maybe I'll never forget it now. Sat down a little after 4 o'clock in my chair and just thought, wow. 48 hours ago, one of my best friends said, "You are so tense, I can't even handle it." And now I'm...
So do you see what you did? You went to a movie, which was fun and uplifting. I think that's real important. We need to be aware of what information's coming to us.
Yeah.
And like when I get home at night, I don't want to watch Bill O'Reilly, who's screaming and yelling. And I mean, I like the show, but I don't want screaming and yelling because I have that tense stuff at work all day.
Yeah.
So I have to be real careful about what information comes to me. But it sounds like you went to a movie that was fun, and then come home and you said, I sat in the chair and the cat or something, or dog, what it was, like, got in your lap.
Yeah.
CJ was there, and so you could relax.
I think part of it was the fact that CJ came to the meeting, and everybody was so jovial at the meeting, and I love that meeting. I mean, it's family. It literally is family. And then I think Ron passing. I think that was probably the catalyst. Because there were a couple of times where my phone would ring and it would be someone from the family saying, "Can you come over here? We want to pray for this, or we want to have communion, or we want to have oil put on the miners, you know, a cross put on their head with oil or something." So I think it was just a good conclusion to my weekend.
Yeah. So are you still, I just want to ask you something.
Okay, well, ask me when we come back.
Okay.
We're coming up on a break. This is Recovery Monday, brought to you by the good folks at Powell CDC, live here on KTIA, Iowa.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershide.
I am administrative manager
I am the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're gonna do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's gonna be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're gonna do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed right or it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you gonna say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're gonna be listening. They're gonna wanna know what your challenges are. Then they're gonna come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you know, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me. But is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.
All right, 22 minutes before the top of the hour, Salem Radio Network News, and then Michael Mudloff with Westkirk Presbyterian Church and True Blue. I'm J. Michael McCoy. If I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. This show's important. Why is it important? I'm not preaching to the choir here. My guess is if you're listening to this radio program, you don't have a fifth of Jack Daniels on the table beside you. But I bet you know somebody who does. And I bet you love that person a lot. And I bet you care about them. And this disease of theirs has crippled you. It's crippled the relationship. It's crippled the emotional bond between you two and almost cut it in half. It has caused heartache for family member after family member. It has caused jobs, probably marriages, and other important relationships, and you don't know what to do. Well, the reason we do this program is for you. We do this program so maybe you'll get a nugget of wisdom on how you deal with dad if he drinks too much, or how you deal with mom, or your little brother, or maybe your pastor, somebody on your church board. 1 out of 10 people are addicted to alcohol. Another 2 abuse it. So you're talking about 30%. If you have a row in your church yesterday, I want you to think about where you sat in church yesterday. And think about a row of 10 people. 3 of those 10, their life is negatively affected by alcohol. And if you want to go down the statistic, another 1 is pornography. Another 1 is drugs, either illegal or prescription. Another 1 is emotional or physical abuse. Another 1 is sexual abuse, maybe not now, but someday in their past, and they live it every time they wake up. And the last one is a family broken by resentments. Those are the people that sit in your row. And did you notice we got to all 10? Nobody perfect. Nobody on a cruise ship. Nobody who said, my life is great. There's nothing wrong with my life. That's why we do this show. Because when you feel that hurt, habit, or hang-up is impacting your life in a negative way, you know you can call Powell, CDC. They're in the phone book. There's a counselor standing by. They will not come after you, trace your call, get a caller ID, and come to your home with men in little white coats. They will sit and they will listen, and they will help you. Because most of those people on the other end of the phone and at the other side of the table have been right there. Either as an addict, an alcoholic, someone who abused, or they've been the victim. Powell, CDC. It's an answer. It's the answer you've been looking for. And more importantly, it's the answer you've been praying for. So, Lila, you were going to ask me a question before we got into break.
Well, first of all, I was thinking about our listeners and thinking that maybe there might be somebody that wants to quit drinking, and they really can't come up with any reasons why they should, you know. And so I just want to ask you, in the last 4 years, what are the benefits that you have found in quitting drinking, and what have you learned?
We don't have enough time. First of all, I learned that even though there were times that I didn't believe in God, I knew that he always believed in me. I learned how to grow up and be a big boy.
Oh, this counselor and I were just talking about that before we came, that since we've been in the program and since we quit drinking, we've had to grow up.
Yeah, that's probably the
biggest.
I
wanted to avoid that my whole life.
Yeah, but that's probably the biggest thing, is I learned how to be a mature adult. Mm-hmm. I learned how to handle people without causing everything to go into a cyclone tailspin. Mm-hmm. I learned how to do the next right thing. Mm-hmm. In other words, the first thing that came to my mind and how to react to things was what got me in trouble in the first place. Yeah. So if I can think past the first thing and go to the second, and that's a saying we have in the 12-step program, do the next right thing, say the next right thing. And I remember when I first learned that, guys, I would focus on that all day long.
Or first thought wrong.
Yeah, first thought wrong. I mean, I remember, and Bob, you may remember this because you've been with me through all this time. where I literally was examining the thoughts in my head before they came out of my mouth, where before I examined the thoughts in my head after they came out of my mouth.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And you didn't care.
I didn't care. Why did I care? Why should I care?
Yeah.
How do you think people around you, if I were to ask CJ what change she has seen in you, what would she say?
Well, I would hope that she would say, well, she has said, that I finally treat her like I should be treating my wife. She's my queen. I mean, I cherish her. And I am there to serve her, where before I was under the horrible misunderstanding that she was there to serve me, or at least it was a 50-50 deal. And I believed we needed to live by the economy of an emotional bank. Okay, you want me to do this, well, then you're going to do this for me.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I'll put a quarter in, but you got to take a quarter out.
Keeping track of those.
Absolutely. You bet. Keeping track of rights and wrongs. And it clearly says in the Bible that love does not keep, what does it say? Love does not keep track of right and wrongs. I think that's in Corinthians. What else have I learned? I've learned so much. I wish I had my...
How about your children?
Well, my son-in-law, who I really treated horrible. I was that bully dad. He's loved my daughter since she was 15. And she's almost 40 now. And yet I always was that, I can't say the word I want. Just think of the worst word that I can't say on the radio. That's the way I treated him. Not good enough. Better step it up. Say things in front of people. Even his kids, I'd say this in front of. And he's the one that said, man, I'm so thankful that you quit drinking.
Yeah.
Because we actually now have kind of a father-son relationship, you know, and the level of respect that I have for him. You know, it's kind of one of those deals that we always say that it's amazing how smart our parents get as we get older.
Yeah.
Well, it's amazing how smart Steve got when I got sober. My daughter has no fear of me taking care of her children, where before, and I didn't know this, by the way, she didn't tell me this, but I could never take care of the kids by myself. CJ had to be around. And I never recognized that, you know. And the question that comes to my mind is, should I have wanted her to? Should I have wanted my daughter to say, you know, Dad, you know why you don't get Alex overnight? Because I don't trust you with your drinking.
What would you have done?
Well, that's the problem. I would have reacted poorly.
Yeah.
I mean, the old adage that you don't quit until you're ready to quit is so true.
Yeah.
Now, could you agree with her that you wouldn't be capable of being with the kids?
Could I agree with her now or then?
Then. No, now.
No, I wasn't. If something had happened to those children when they were children, I was blacked out. I was passed out.
But then you would have said, I'm insulted, or...
Yeah, absolutely. Here's the other thing. Here's the other thing I've learned. Very important. I don't get offended anymore. What God has taught me about being offensive, about being offended, it has nothing to do with him, because God doesn't get offended. Jesus didn't get offended. If I want to be more Christ-like, then I can't allow someone's words or actions to have me choose to be offended. And I've offended some people when I say to them, you choose to be offended. You choose that. And they don't hear that right. And I probably wouldn't have heard it right either. But I have this wonderful, peaceful life where I just don't get offended anymore.
I don't either, but I have to teach. Well, I try not to be offended, but in my business, I have to constantly hear things. I don't want to take on other people's stuff.
Yeah.
So I have this invisible wall in front of me, and so I'm constantly giving their words back to them. It's just this is their opinion. This is what they think, and letting them have that opinion.
Yeah.
So if someone has something that would offend me, I do the same
Shut
thing.
it out.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to go to our last break, and I want to share with you some more things that are benefits, but I also want to tell you some of the things that I've struggled with, because you do have to live life on life's terms. And living a sober life is different than living a wet life. We'll talk about that when we come back live here on Recovery Monday.
father who is headed toward another heart attack. A woman who struggles daily with diabetes and her memory. A boy whose headaches keep him out of school. A mother who one morning discovers a lump. A girl whose condition defies diagnosis. You come to us because you need answers, but you also need more. You need understanding of what you're going through. You need comfort. You need to be treated as an individual, not a condition. You need to be included in your own care. You are the point of everything we do. That's why we're changing to Unity Point Health. It's a model of care that will help us work better together, where the physician who knows you best takes the lead, coordinating your care through every step, from the hospital to specialists to rehabilitation to health services in the home and in the community, to making sure the treatments are effective. By working as a team, we surround you with care, helping you manage your health and your conditions, guiding you to making better choices and living a healthier life. The point of Unity is you. Unity Point Health.
If you choose to obey the power of sin, it leads to death. If you choose to obey obedience, it leads to righteousness.
Forgiveness is just the beginning of life in Christ. God wants us to live for Him now.
And because of Jesus Christ, the gospel was preached, and you and I are blessed today because of Abraham. Did you know that? We're blessed.
Experience Truth, 99.3 FM.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Before the top, Salem Radio Network news, and then Michael Mudloff with True Blue, brought to you by Westkirk Presbyterian Church. This is Recovery Monday, underwritten, sponsored by, co-hosted by the folks at Unity Point, which is Powell, CDC, and we've had so many good guests over the last year. Mm-hmm. I love Jerry. Jerry was probably one of my favorites. Dee Hummel. People have no idea the power pack that little woman has, because she's what, like 3'9", weighs 70 pounds, something like that. Man, just some powerful people you've brought me. And also the guy with the glasses that founded it.
Oh, Dr. Haugland?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, he's so sweet.
He was one of my favorites, too. So
he is so knowledgeable.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's so funny. Everybody comes from the same place. It doesn't seem like there's any really smart people that never had any alcohol problem who runs these or has anything to do with them. They're all people who have what my dad would call boots on the ground experience, you know? You asked me earlier the good things that came out of it. You asked about my children. Let me tell you one of the bad things that came about is two of my children just don't know how to communicate with me anymore. One is so much like me, it's not even funny, and the other one's enough like me. And please hear that this is a common thing that happens when somebody in a family gets sober. I remember when I was thinking about getting sober, I was sitting with a buddy at Perkins, and I said, man, I don't know if my marriage can survive any more drinking. And he said, well, understand, your marriage may not survive in sobriety. Mm-hmm. I said, what? That's the silliest darn thing I ever heard. But people learn how to deal with you in a certain way.
They will unknowingly pull you back to where you were.
Yeah.
Because that's, even though they hated that, it's familiar.
Yeah.
And they know how to either have control in that situation or whatever.
That's the way it is with one of my children right now. We can't communicate because that person just wants to light a fire underneath me because that's the only way they know how to communicate with me. And I just don't light fires anymore. I don't do anything. I just sit there. The other bad thing about it is I don't have near as much fun as I used to. I haven't learned yet, and maybe someday I will, but I haven't learned yet how to have fun without having alcohol present. And this did not strike any truer than just a couple months ago when our very best friends in the whole world, who we used to just do everything with, okay? And, I mean, we were like common thinkers. You wake up on Saturday morning and, well, let's call and see what they want to do today. You know, we're just this foursome. it became so evident to me. They went to Mexico, and we found out about it on Facebook. And when I asked, not confronted, but when I asked her about it, she said, well, it's not as much fun as it used to be when we would go, because we'd go on trips, we'd just do everything together. And I know that hopefully that'll come with more years of sobriety. But I don't have, I really don't have fun.
I've had that experience as well, and it's usually with the people I drank with before, or my older brother, who I used to have up on a pedestal, once said to me, "You're not fun anymore," and that just killed me, because it was like, God, but I have a different kind of fun. I think my biggest fear was I was never going to have fun again, and I do have fun. It's just in another way, and the kind of fun I had before was always fun to a certain point,
right?
And those are the times I remember. I don't remember
after the point.
Yeah, I choose not to look at that stuff.
Yep.
So how fun was that, really?
Yeah, and one of the prevailing factors in me deciding to quit drinking was because these best friends of ours didn't like me when I got to that point.
Yeah.
They didn't get to that point for some reason.
Yeah.
Either they held their liquor better than I did, or they didn't drink as much. Because when I got to that point, they didn't want to be around me.
Yeah.
But let me go back and add something, and I'm really thinking out loud now. When do I have fun? I do have fun now, and I have fun serving.
Yeah.
I have fun when I get the opportunity to come alongside the family, the Gruters family last week, and be there for them, and alcohol didn't get involved. They could call me at 11 o'clock at night, and I knew I could count on myself.
Is that fun, or is that joy?
Maybe joy. A good point. Maybe joy. I mean, I have fun at 12-step meetings. I look forward to 12-step meetings. It's never, I got a meeting today. Am I going to go? Because you can find 100 reasons not to go.
See, I was always looking for that high, because I was used to getting high. Then after sobriety, I still needed that high, crazy high. And I won't find that in sobriety. But eventually I found out that I need to learn to live in that middle ground, which at first, for a couple of years, seemed really boring to me.
Yeah.
And now I just tell people I live on the edge of that middle ground,
yeah.
So I can still live on the edge of something.
Well, my Fridays consisted of getting done with my show, going over to Kitty's, and sitting there till 7:30 with people I'd known for 20, 30 years, having cocktails, and having somebody drive me home. Now Friday, I get off the show, and I go home, and I sit. Now, we're fortunate that Friday's our grandkids' day, so almost every Friday we have one of our grandkids. But let's face it, let's talk out loud here. That's really for Grandma. I mean, Grandma, everything centers around Grandma and the kids. And I'm just not a get on the floor and play whatever, kind of guy. I'm a grab the kid, get in the car, and let's go do something Grandpa enjoys, and I'll make sure you enjoy it too. That's why my grandkids and I eat a lot.
So what's keeping you from inviting people over that are in the program and having fun with them like you used to your other friends?
Well, but I do that now. I do that now. And the other big benefit that I've got to make sure I put here is the largest benefit of me getting sober is I gained something I had never had before, and that was serenity.
Yeah.
And most importantly, clarity. And I think that gave God, I was going to say that gave God permission. That's a dumb thing to say, but he got my attention then. And I think if he had tried to get my attention before, I wasn't paying attention to it. Mm-hmm. And I'm not talking about when I was drinking. I'm talking about 10 in the morning.
Yeah.
The biggest benefit has been my spiritual awakening. To finally see the person that God created me to be and to carry that out. And he created me to be a servant. Mm-hmm. I really love to serve. But the accuser got in my way before and always asked the question, well, what's in it for me? Mm-hmm. And that's not serving. So that's probably the best thing.
Yeah.
That and the gift I'm able to give my wife in the kind of husband she'd always wanted. She always said it took 20 years to train a good husband, and I came in under 19. I did. I came in 19 years, so I did good. All right. Thanks for listening today. Recovery Monday, Lila Stafford and Bob Montserrat, produced by Ryan. I'm J. Michael McCoy. If I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. I do love this job. I have fun at this job. It brings me joy.
There you go.
To serve my Lord and my God in this way, and also to make known the dangerous aspects of a life riddled with resentment, hate, loathing, and none of that is something I wanted or God wanted for me. See you tomorrow till we see each other again. Remember, just pray.